Hello. So today I want to talk about how when we're utilizing imagination, as Neville likes to discuss, we have to be quite careful in terms of not making it overly personal. This is going to be a rather, I guess you could say, advanced video. If you know me, I love making these kind of advanced videos that you don't see elsewhere because it seems like so much of the law of assumption type of advice we hear is very just superficial. This video is not going to be superficial, and it's not going to be for every one of you because it's rather difficult. However, if you get through it, um, I'm rather sure you'll get something valuable out of it. We were discussing during the free group session the other day about the element of control. And I wanted to expand upon that by talking about Neville's approach and comparing it to somebody like Joel Goldsmith. For those of you who don't know, Joel Goldsmith was another metaphysical, mystical, Christian based Christian type of teacher from the mid 20th century. So, a lot of similarities to Neville, but also a lot of differences in terms of how he uh, described integrating these ideas. And what you have to understand about Goldsmith is that he cut to the core of so many of these metaphysical ideas that Neville has really popularized again recently in the last like 5 or 6 years on social media. But Goldsmith did it in a way that was much less likely to be interpreted as a way to get personal gain. See, Neville at his finest, and for those of you new to this channel, I have so many videos on Neville, as well as, I've edited and written a lot of books about Neville, but links will be in the description for many other Neville videos if you're, trying to find out more about Neville. Neville at his finest was basically saying your imagination is God. Your imagination is God. If your imagination is God, that means in a way it's actually not all that personal. And this is what Goldsmith would often point to as well, is that God is impersonal. God is everything, right? Yet, however, in the law of assumption space, in the way that Neville is usually spoken about today, it seems like most of the advice we hear is about getting something. Like I am going to manifest something. I'm going to use my creative power to manifest something. And you could certainly interpret Neville in that way. I understand why people interpret it that way. However, as soon as you get so personal with that, you will find over the long term, it is very difficult for most of us to apply his teachings in such a way. Emile Coué, who was another wonderful teacher of these ideas and who hugely influenced so many people, including Neville, always said that unless your willpower is aligned with your imagination will overrun it. And willpower is you could say ego-based. It's like, I want something. I'm going to do something. Me. And what we see with these ideas, with these principles, is if too much me, I'm going to do it, gets involved, the imagination almost always says, no. I am God. I am God, not your little willpower. Your willpower is something, but it's nothing compared to me, God, imagination. This shit's advanced. I hope that some of you are getting. I haven't even read the Goldsmith yet. Wait till we get to the Goldsmith. So with Neville, it's very easy to think that like, oh, I Tim, I'm trying to manifest something. I'm going to manifest a new car. I'm going to manifest, $1 million. I'm going to manifest a new doggy that, has a cool fur coat, whatever the heck. And when you hear stories about people manifesting seemingly spectacular things out of quote unquote thin air, it really does seem like a personal decision was made to do it. But if it's too personal, if it's too eye-based, it won't last. It just, that's not how quote unquote manifesting usually works. People get super confused about this shit. The point of this video, 5.5 minutes in, I'm beginning to actually get to the point. The point of this video is basically to tell you, if you're making it too personal, just stop. Don't compare yourself to anything, and just embrace the fact that your imagination, which Neville would say is God, is always operating right now. Embrace that, as opposed to your little self trying to manifest something through your quote unquote imagination. It doesn't work like that. Let me read some Joel Goldsmith. Joel Goldsmith makes this much, much, much more clear. And if you're into this stuff for a long time, many of you are going to probably be like, you know what? I love Neville, but Goldsmith explains how this stuff actually works much more holistically and spiritually in my life. That certainly has been the case for me. And if you're new to all this stuff and you start reading Goldsmith, you're probably going to be like, this guy's just a fucking way out there. But make no mistake, I mean, in my opinion, in Papa Bear Tim's opinion, Goldsmith is in every way on the level of Neville in terms of explaining these ideas and being interesting in terms of applying these ideas. Those of you who think that Neville is somehow like above everybody are probably not being honest with yourself. This is Goldsmith from The Art of Spiritual Healing. This is a rather long excerpt. If you've made it this far, you can handle it. And again, I'm not saying that everything that Goldsmith says here is perfect or right or anything like that, but this is the kind of opinion or difference of approach that you might want to hear if you're kind of like, why isn't this law of assumption stuff working the way I want it to? Goldsmith writes, whatever degree of suffering there is in this world is due to being under a material sense of law. When we meet with any physical or mental law, we should return to the principle and wipe it out with the understanding that it is not power, because God is the only power. God is a jealous God, and God does not give his power to you or me. Just as the inspiration which comes to any creative worker is not his inspiration, but God's, merely flowing through him, so God's power flows through you or me. When a man thinks that any gift that he has is his own, in a few short years it is exhausted, depleted. He is all dried up, and he wonders why new ideas are not flowing. That is because he claimed them as his own. He believed they were his unique possession. He believed that God had bestowed a special favor upon him by giving him this talent. God never gives his talent to anybody. God maintains his talent within himself and expresses it freely and joyously through us, but it always remains God's talent. Those who know this never run dry. They never run out of inspiration because the inspiration is never theirs. It is God's, and they are but the instrument through which it appears on earth. When there is a restricted inspiration, when there is a restricted supply of anything, health, money, or opportunity, always remember this. Some universal sense of law is in operation, and we are under that law and are suffering because we believe that we are creators instead of realizing that there is only one creator. This sense of a dual creation has its basis in the ego. In the Garden of Eden, Adam began to believe that he and Eve were creators. Today, man has discovered his mind and thinks that he can create his good mentally. or that he can create evil with that same mind. In the end, it must be recognized that man is not a creator. He may be the instrument through which the creative principle functions, but he himself is not a creator. No man or woman was given the gift of creating his or her good mentally or destroying good mentally. The ego is in the chair when anyone believes that he is a mental creator, just as when he believes that he is a physical creator. When all claims to being a creator are relinquished, and when it is realized that all things that are manifested and do appear are made from things which are not seen, then we are living in the invisible realm. All things that are made, all things, including our body, will be harmonious. It is only while the belief lasts, the universal belief that we are creators with a selfhood apart from God, that the body, our relationships, and our affairs remain inharmonious and discordant. Watch the miracle when we give up believing in God over error, or love over hate, and accept wholeheartedly the principle of one power. Watch the miracle that comes into our lives when we stop defending ourselves against shadows in the wall, nothingness. When we stop fighting the errors of the world, the tyrants in the powers of the world. Watch what happens when you and I can reach the state of consciousness which recognizes the enemy as but the arm of flesh. No matter how big or how strong it seems to be, it is only the arm of flesh, nothingness. The battle is not yours, but God's. Stand ye still. There is but one power. Agree with your adversary. Do not affirm, do not deny. Sit still, become peaceful, and wait for the word of God to come. And when it comes, it will be strong and powerful and sharper than a two-edged sword. Joel Goldsmith, The Art of Spiritual Healing. That's from the chapter Beyond Words and Thoughts. Goldsmith wasn't playing around. And I don't agree with everything he said there, and you probably don't either, but what he's getting at is that if you think you are the creator of your reality, and yet you don't feel good about many things in your reality, you are probably being far too egotistical about what you are creating. And that is incredibly common in the online law of assumption and manifestation space. There's a ton of spiritual bypassing in regards to applying these ideas in terms of you are the creator, I created this, I manifested this. Goldsmith says you've never manifested anything. And when you realize that, it is a tremendous relief. And it also, in Goldsmith's opinion and in my opinion, is a healing.